Well, hello, everyone. I have something very special to share with you today, and that is that Shrikala Ram, she's here to tell us more about Jaimini Astrology, what it is, and how it's different from the astrology that I teach, which is Parashara's astrology. I find that this system is fascinating. It has so many facets, and you can do so much with it. And actually, for those of you that already know astrology, Western, or a little bit of the Parashara system that I'm all about, you'll want to know about this system because you can incorporate it in your tools and really to understand more about yourself. So we have Shrikala here. She knows so much about the system, and she is a fabulous teacher. She really does teach where you're going to understand something that you thought was difficult. She makes it so easy, and we're gonna understand by the end of this video a little bit more about how you can use the system looking at your own chart or your friends or your family. It's so meaningful. So Shrikala, will you tell us a little bit about what is Jaimini Astrology?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Joni, for that wonderful introduction. You inspired me to learn Jaimini astrology many years ago, and I learned everything that I know about astrology from you, the Parashara system.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started looking into the Jaimini astrology, I found out in the beginning, of course, my thought was, and I'm sure a lot of people out there think the same way, that they are stand apart tools, right? This is one thing, this is the other thing. A lot of people think like that. But what I found interesting and really fascinating is that they really do work with each other. So the Jaimini techniques can be applied in addition to your Parashara techniques, and what you're seeing in the chart from a Parashara standpoint. You can take the Jaimini techniques and add to it. You can find more information. You can find more timing, concise, precise timing. And that's what really interested and attracted me to it, because, there's a lot of terminology in there that's very different from the Parashara system, although you'll always see that common thread running through the whole thing, and when I dug deep into it, I found out that Sage Jaimini, he he lived in the same time frame as Sage Parashara. And I don't know if you know, Sage Parashara's son was the renowned sage Vedvyasa. And, he's credited with splitting the Vedas into 4 books, the Rig Veda and the Atharva Veda and all that. And Sage Vedvyasa's student was Sage Jaimini. So they all existed or lived in the same time frame. So if you look at the Jaimini system, we pretty much use we can use the South Indian style chart, the planet, the glyphs, everything is similar. The only thing is the techniques are a little different, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I always felt, and I'm not going to say that, this is exactly true because I don't know what happened back then, but I do think that he took the foundational concepts of Parashara system and made it more precise, like he added more to it. So that's why I really do feel like both techniques kind of work hand in hand. And one of the main things that really attracted me to it was the concept of Argalas. And Joni, the Argala concept, and this kind of shocked me too, because it is there in the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. It's apparently chapter 31, in which Parashara himself talks about the concept of Argalas. He doesn't dwell too much on it. That's probably why we don't use it very widely in the Parashara system of astrology. But in the Jaimini Sutras, the Argalas are, given a lot of importance. And that is what really attracted me to this particular branch of astrology. And the reason for that is because, sometimes when you look at a chart and you see these beautiful planets in a certain house, and you're like, wait a minute, why is this person having so much difficulty in this area of their life, even though they have wonderful exalted planets in that sign, right? Like, for example, Jupiter exalted in the 10th house, and the person's having problems with career. There could be like difficult aspects to that Jupiter, yes, but what if you don't even see that? So the whole idea of Argalas is locking the potential of a house and saying, is it able to express itself or not, right? So you have a certain sign, you have a certain house, you have planets in it. And the concept of Argalas tells us, is the house going to be able to express itself, or is it not going to be able to express itself? So it's like a bolt. It's like a locking concept. And it's called planetary intervention. I don't know if it's there. Joni, you might know in Western astrology. I've not learned Western astrology, but they call it planetary intervention, the concept of Argalas. So for example, there's a lot of rules that go into it. I simplify it because when I teach the concept of Argalas, I actually pull up a spreadsheet and I say, okay, let's just add yes to these columns and no to these columns, and it'll calculate things. And that's how I teach my students, so that we don't have to sit there and painstakingly count the houses and all that. I give that tool to my students to use because they can just kind of enter things in there and it'll calculate it for them. But the one of the main things is, for example, you have a certain house, say the first house, right? Let's consider it as Cancer. The sign of Cancer has Jupiter in it. It's a first house in a person's chart. Now, if there are benefic planets in the second from that placement, that means there is positive Argala to it. And if there are planets in the 12th from that placement, that means that Argala is getting obstructed. So if you think about this, I mean, in the sutras, you don't see the reason why it is the 2 and the 12, right? But if you think about it, you can see that the second is always the gains of that house. And the 12th is always the loss of that house. So that's the way it is calculated, So if there are planets second to it, then yes, positive. If there are planets 12th to it, it's getting canceled, right? But if there are more planets 12th to it than in the second from it, like if it's outweighing, like the obstruction is outweighing the positive Argala, then that means the person is going to have difficulty in that lifetime trying to express that house or trying to express the intent of that house. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be expressed, because then what's the point of having that planet in that house, right? It's there. But what it really means is, how easy or how difficult is it going to be for this person to experience the potential of that house? So a really good example is when we are living in the world and we are at work, or we are, say, for example, I'm at work and I have this great opportunity for a promotion. But there are people there, like my manager or whoever, may really help me get to that point, right? Hey, let me give you these things which will help you get to that promotion level. But then there could be people hidden who are trying to bring me down. So that's a great example to explain it. So if, so the obstruction Argala is the people trying to bring me down. The positive Argala is the people trying to take me to that level, what I want to achieve. So it's just fascinating how, say, Jaimini has used this analogy of how we live on this planet. Like, this is how every area of our life will see people either trying to support us or people trying to take us down, right? Or wanting for us to not be successful, right?
Yes.
So that is what he has taken, and he's built it into these concepts of the concept of Argala. That the rule that I told you about the 2 and the 12 is just one of it. There are like 4 or 5 different rules. But the way I teach it is, of course, when you take each house and you start looking at this, it's mind-boggling, right? Because I do this for the first house, I do it for the second house, So the way I teach it, I always tell my students, look for the 1, 5, and 9, okay? Those 3 houses, if they have unobstructed positive Argalas, the person will be successful. Okay. Because that's overall, right? 9th house is your luck and fortune. The 5th house is, your creative talent, your self-expression, all of that. And the first house is yourself, right? And the 5th house is your creative talent. And the first house is yourself and your soul and what you're here to do. So that is the whole idea. And always tell my students, don't try to count through all this. I have this little tool that I created in a spreadsheet, and I say, you can use this. You just put in here, number of positive Argalas, 4, number, and then it'll calculate it for you. But that's a beautiful concept because it helped me explain a lot of things, why people are struggling in certain areas of their life, even though they have great planets there. Because it's almost like there are these hurdles they have to overcome to finally see the potential of that house. And when does the Argala come into play? During the dasha of that planet.
Yes. But don't they have different dashas than Parashara's Vimshottari dashas?
Yes. So in the Jaimini system, everything is sign-based. It's not planet-based. So Sage Jaimini gives a lot of importance to the sign aspects. So the aspects are sign-based, the dashas are sign-based. So instead of saying the Jupiter dasha or the Mars dasha and Vimshottari, we say the dasha of Scorpio sign or the dasha of Virgo sign, so that's how it is calculated. Yes. Another thing I always tell my students, when you think of Jaimini, always think chara, okay? Not fixed. It's always changing. It's chara.
Okay.
And you'll see that word all over Jaimini because it is very unique to the individual. The chara dashas, for example, not everybody has the same length of a certain sign dasha. Like you would have a different length of a Scorpio dasha and I would have a different length of the Scorpio dasha. It's calculated based on my chart.
Interesting.
And also not only the length of the dasha, but the duration of the antardashas also different.
Wow. It's
order of the dashas different. So you may have after Scorpio, you may have Sagittarius. I may have after Scorpio Libra. I may go reverse or forward, and it's totally very uniquely calculated based on the person's chart. So that also fascinated me because it gives a sense of uniqueness to the chart, that this is based on my timing, my birth time. And the chara dashas, the way I use it, Joni, is if you saw the way my Parashara's light software is set up, I have the Vimshottari dasha and I have the chara dasha when I do readings. And what I do is I look at the Vimshottari dasha. They are longer periods of time as far as I'm concerned. So, if I see that there's a certain Mahadasha and Antardasha that the person is running, and it's say, for example, it's 2 years long, I can always tell them, hey, in this 2-year time frame, this would happen based on what you have taught me, right? The spatial relationship between the Mahadasha and the Antardasha. For example, just to explain it better for everybody here, if I am in the Jupiter cycle, Mahadasha, and I am inside Jupiter, I'm in the Mars Antardasha, and say from Jupiter, Mars goes 2 houses away, right? It's the second house. Then all the indications for that cycle would be second house related, right? It would be gains and finances. And depending on the energy and the dignity of the planets, it could be challenges in that area, or it could be income or gains in that area, right?
Right.
But that's a longer period of time. So I'm saying, oh, here, this 1 year, this is going to happen. But then you look at the chara dasha and you see, oh, this person's running a Scorpio sign Mahacycle or Mahadasha. And within that, they are in, say, for example, Virgo or something. You will notice that the chara dasha cycles are much smaller time frames. It's like weeks, sometimes even days.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yes. And then what will happen is you can look at that, and remember, this is one person's chart. So things will always match and add up across, right? There's not going to be a contradiction like, oh, I'm seeing second house indications here and here I'm seeing something else. Right. It could just mean that they have both things happening at the same time in their life, And yes, so then you can give them more information. You can tell them, hey, along with this, here you go, this is also happening. You may meet somebody during the cycle, and that's the smaller time frame, like within these few weeks, right? Wow. That's how I use it. I kind of use it hand in hand. That's why I tell all my students, the Parashara system is always the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
and you need a strong foundation. But the Gemini system kind of is another tool in your belt.
Right.
And you don't have to know Parashara system fully, right? You don't have to go through all 6 semesters of UVA. If you
Mm-hmm.
can understand what a South Indian chart looks like, then you can learn the Jaimini system of astrology and you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I teach it. And also, when you get to the end of it, you can read an entire chart using the Jaimini system of astrology. Absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, I have to share with you my favorite concept of the Jaimini system is the concept of the karakas. I use that all the time in my readings, such as the Atma Karaka being that individual, or the Dara Karaka being the marriage partner. And when that Dara Karaka gets aspected, that's when they could meet someone or get married. I've seen that so many times. And the concept that I love the very most is when the Atma Karaka, which is the planet that's highest in sidereal degree, is with the Amacha Karaka, which is the second in highest in sidereal degree. I have found that to be totally accurate, that the person will be extremely successful if they are connected. It's an amazing concept. Do you want to add any to that?
Let me explain why that happens, Joni, because again, Gemini system, think of the word chara, changing.
Yes.
The karakas are different for each person, right? And I'll be teaching this tomorrow in the class too. The whole idea of karakas in the Gemini system is each person, like your Atma Karaka will be different from mine, depending on the degree of the planets, because it's based on the actual degree of the planets in the chart. The Atma Karaka, put aside your career, your family, your spouse, your kids, everything. At the end of the day, what is the soul here to learn? That's the concept of the Atma Karaka at the very deep, the most deep level, right? Because we are living in a society. So we're always like, we have the 10th house, the 5th house, the second house, all of that. In the Parashara system, the Atma Karaka is always the planet Sun. That's what we call the Atma Karaka, right? Because it's the soul. But in the Gemini system, it's based on the degrees of the planet. So the planet that has the highest degrees, like you said, is the Atma Karaka. Now, the idea of the Atma Karaka is, like I said, what am I here to learn in this lifetime? And it's not one thing, right? We all pick up multiple challenges that we want to overcome. One misconception I had before I learned the Jaimini system of astrology is that the Atma Karaka is always positive. Yes, at the end of the day, it is positive because the soul is attaining what it's here to attain. But if it is a difficult lesson, there could be a challenging Atma Karaka, as I have seen in Princess Diana's chart, or even in Prince William's chart. In a lot of charts of people who are very prominent in society, you may see a challenging Atma Karaka. Yes, they are prominent in society, but that means that the second one, the planet with the second highest degrees that you were talking about, the Amatya Karaka, is prominent. It's very up there, it's exalted, it's probably Vargotama, it's just really, really strong. So yes, in career, they are out in the public, they are known by people, but their Atma Karaka might have some challenges because they are here to learn those lessons in this lifetime. So that's that deeper level that I'm talking about in the Gemini system, where we go one step down and see, let's put all of this aside. That's important, yes. But ultimately, what are we here to learn? Now, the concept that you were saying, it's very fascinating because the most prominent Raj Yoga in the Gemini system is when these two come together.
Yeah.
Why? Because the soul's purpose, what it's here to do, is fully aligned with its career potential, with the Amatya Karaka. So in some way or the other, when these planets come together, this individual, this native, very early in life, will go to that career, which will help them achieve their soul's purpose here. And most of the time, when you see this Raj Yoga in a person's chart, you'll see very early, like I would say even in their late teenage years, they're just very clear on what they want to do. There's no confusion. I want to go to this career and learn this, or I want to go to this college, do this, and then go and do this job. There's no confusion there because these two are aligned. Remember, the soul doesn't waste any. If it can get to the point quickly, it will. So when
Right.
these two are really conjunct and closer in degrees, the better, right?
Right.
Now, here's what another concept I always tell my students. When we learn the theory of these things, don't just learn it for just that, like, oh, if it's together, that's a great Raj Yoga, right?
Mhm.
Ask questions. Does that mean that everybody born in February 1962 has a Raj Yoga? Because 7 planets were in Capricorn at that time.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
we should have all these amazing individuals who came out of that month, right?
Right.
So what changes that? Because they all would have the same Argalas, they all would have the same Raj Yogas, right? What really changes that is make sure you look for strength of these planets in the divisional charts.
Right.
Are they happening in the Navamsha? Is it happening in the Dashamsha? You have to look at these additional things to make sure that you're making the right prediction. Because it's not just one thing. And Joni, you have always taught us this in the university too. Don't look at one thing and predict something. You make sure you have like at least 3 or 4
Right.
things adding up, right?
Exactly.
So that, because that's funny if you think about it, right? They have like what, many Raj Yogas in that month.
I know. It is. It's the most confusing chart ever. It's February 1962. What is the date that even the moon is in there?
I think it was the 3rd or something, the
I
3rd
think
or the
so too. That's what I was going to say. February 3rd. Yeah, that is crazy. A
2.5 days. The moon was there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most confusing chart ever.
That's how I learned, Joni. When I look at concepts, I have this kind of a scientific mind. So I'm like, wait a minute, how does it work for that? Right? I'm always
Exactly.
questioning things and trying to find the answers.
Yeah, how can we make sense of that? You're
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, true.
And that's how I teach my students to continuously question things, because out of the questioning, it's not bad to question things, because out of the questioning comes new knowledge. We
Exactly.
discover new things. And I have to tell you, I've written the book, but since the time I've written the book, I've, through teaching and through learning, I have found out so many more concepts which I teach in my actual live course.
Mhm.
Because I come back to my students and I say, okay, add this to that, because, this will make it more precise.
Right.
We are constantly trying to learn and improve, right, Joni? We are, we never finish learning in this lifetime. That's how I think about it.
Me too. You're absolutely right. And I have to tell you, I've learned a lot from you about Jaimini Astrology. And what I want everyone to know is, aside from your wonderful book, do you have your book handy to show everyone?
Yes, let me just get that. I
Yeah.
should have kept it here.
Yeah, because she's written this really easy to understand book on Jaimini Astrology. She uses it as her textbook for the class. There it is, beautiful book. I actually encouraged her to write that book, right? Yes, mainly so I could learn Jaimini Astrology from her. And the book is wonderful. And I want everyone to know, with the University of Vedic Astrology, she teaches the class on Jaimini Astrology, which is a live Zoom class that we have at the university. It's in the 5th semester. But better than that, coming up here this week, she is teaching an entire semester on Jaimini Astrology. If this has piqued your interest in any way, and I know it has, you'll want to take this course. And you can take this course without being part of the university. It is a standalone course where you can just take the Jaimini course. And Shri, you want to tell people about how it's all set up, when it starts, and how they can be part of this?
Yes, Joni. Yes. So I typically teach this course. My plan was to teach it twice a year, but life happens and we get busy, and but I at least try to teach it once a year. So that's what I want to tell everybody. The last time I taught this course was last year, and we had wonderful graduates coming out of this course. And I'm going to give you a structure as to what this course is. Like Joni said, it is a full semester. And when I say a semester, it's 8 lessons, 8 lesson videos, and there's going to be tests, and it's based completely on the same structure as Joni's University of Vedic Astrology course on the same platform. Thinkific is the platform that we use. It's very easy to use, very intuitive, and you can easily click through the things. Now, the way the course is structured is I learned from the best, right? So I build it like building blocks. So the first lesson is going to be on the introduction and the signs and the aspects, because you need to know that to understand the rest of it, okay? The second lesson is going to be on the karakas, like we were talking about earlier, but a lot more information because there are 7 karakas. So we only talked about the Atma karaka, right? So that's the karakas. The third lesson is going to be on the Argalas, because the Argala concept also applies to the karakas. You know, when we talk about those yogas, if the Argala is obstructing, the yoga is not going to be easy to see in this lifetime. They have some things to get over before they get to that. So that's why I put the Argalas later on, like it's towards the third lesson. And then the next lesson is going to be on the special lagnas. This is another concept in Jaimini astrology. We have the Karakamsha lagna, the Upapada lagna, and the Arudha lagna. Beautiful concept. So I devote a whole lesson to it because we need that time to talk about it. Then we talk a very detailed about the Chara dashas. I do teach you how to calculate it, although you don't need to know that. The software does it for you. But I have to tell you, I have seen once or twice an error in what the software did based on the way it is calculated, you know, the reverse or the forward motion of the dashas. And that's why I always tell my students, know how to do it. You don't have to do it, but know it, because then you can catch errors. Because ultimately, you know, when we build the software, there's always going to be manual errors, right? So it's good to know that. And everything that I teach, I also want to add is from the sutras, the Jaimini Sutras. So in the first class, I'll show you my sutra workbook where I take each sutra and I have decoded it using the Kata Payadi system. And I'll teach you that too. Not that you're going to probably want to do it. It's probably boring for a lot of you, but I still give you that understanding, because if you want to go and look at the sutras and say, let me go to the root and find out how this is done. If you're anything like me, you'll probably want to do that. So then that's where that comes in. So we reach the Chara dashas, right? Then there are 2 lessons completely dedicated to yogas, because there are so many Raj yogas. I think, Joni, in the Parashara system, there are like 1001 is what I have heard. Same with Jaimini, same with Jaimini. So many permutations and combinations, but I picked like the most important ones which you can use, because ultimately learning all this theory is great, but practical usage is what's more important, right? How do I use it, right?
Exactly.
So then you learn the yogas, and then the last lesson is spirituality in the Jaimini astrology system. How do you see spiritual tendencies in a person's chart? So this is the way it is structured. You go through it one by one every week, starting Thursday this week on the 25th. Every Thursday, we will have a live webinar where I will teach you these concepts with current event charts. So you would have seen some charts in my book, you would have seen some charts in the lesson video, but I'm going to bring you new charts and teach you the concept again and show you how to apply it, because the more we see it, the more examples we see, the better it kind of goes into our subconscious, right?
Right.
So that's what I do. And these live webinars, guys, are fully interactive, a lot of fun, because like I said, I can't say this enough. I learned from the best, and that's Joni Patry. So, you know, everybody has their questions. We all weigh in on a chart. It's not just, you know, me talking about the chart. I always ask the students, what do you see that I don't see? And they're going to tell me some things that they saw, which probably I missed, right? So it's very interactive. And so we'll have those live webinars at the end of all the lessons. Once you're there, you've finished everything. You and I will have a final test where I'll send you the chart information of a person and not tell you who it is. And I'll ask you to tell me all the things in their life, like, you know, certain questions, like when did they get married? When did they have kids? Or, you know, there'll be a set of questions you have to answer, and we'll meet and we'll go over that on a live session as a final test. And I forgot, I just thought about this. I also do talk a lot about the padas, like that Joni
Yes,
was saying,
of course.
because trust me, guys, when the padas are triggered, especially like Joni was saying, the seventh house pada or the fifth house pada, when
Mm.
there are transits on those padas, those really do work for predictions. Okay, so it's another thing that you can learn. So that's another lesson that we have in there. So much information, Joni. I keep forgetting sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, it's amazing how much you fit in there. So you have the recorded videos, 8 of them, and they take a test after each of those videos. And on top of that, every week they have live videos. So they're getting 2 videos on each concept, right? Live and
Yes.
recorded. And by the time you finish, hey guys, you have a whole new system and tool to perfect your readings in astrology. This is totally amazing opportunity. And I noticed something else while this class is going on, you even have a discounted rate for people if they join right now. This is like a huge opportunity. Those of you that are really wanting to perfect your techniques and use of astrology, no matter what system of astrology, even if you're doing Western, you don't have to learn the whole Parashara to do this. This is a standalone system and a standalone class. This is a great opportunity coming up here. And what's the date when it starts again, Shri, and timing?
Thursday, first class is astrologically chosen. The time is a muhurta time that we chose, but it's the first day is August 25th, this coming Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. And after that, every Thursday, the class is at noon because a lot of people have lunch breaks at noon and it's easier for them to make it. So, and I also want to let everybody know if due to some reason you're in a certain, like last time when we did this class, we had students from Australia and Europe and, so, and they would not be sometimes able to make our live lessons, but these are recorded.
Yeah.
And when you go on to Thinkific, you will also find past recordings because I've taught this course 2 times in the past, 2021 and 2020. I've taught it 2 times. So each time we have recorded all the live webinars. So, sitting at the doctor's office or sitting on the subway or something, you have all this time. You can go and just listen to some of those live webinars. And like I said, practice makes perfect. So the more and more you see these examples, the more you learn. So everything's there. You have so much material that you get with this.
Wow. Let me tell you guys, if you want to learn Jaimini Astrology, this is the answer. She has got, this course is really structured so that anyone can learn it. And I used to think it was too hard to learn, right? And it's not when I listen to you, Shri. You make it so easy and people can definitely start incorporating it in their practices as astrologers, or even a novice that just wants to know more about themselves. This is huge. So I encourage anyone to take this class because you will love it and you will use it. It's an amazing opportunity. So do you have any closings, things you want to add to this, Shri? Are you?
No, I think we covered a lot of it. I wanted to speak to this audience and you gave me a great opportunity, Joni. As always, thank you for this platform, for inspiring us. I would never have even learned about Jaimini if you wouldn't have, asked me to go and research it, So thank you, first of all, for that. And I'm just excited now that we've talked so much about it. I can't wait for the class to teach. I'm like, can it get here faster?
Me too.
And I hope to see so many of you there, and we are going to have so much fun learning this course. Trust me.
That's what I love about all of our classes. We have fun learning, don't we?
We do. We do. It's like a vacation we look forward to in every week.
It is. It is. It's a blast. Well, thank you so much, Shri, for all of your wisdom and information. And I'll be there in some of the classes. I love learning from you as well. So I hope all of you out there will take advantage of this great opportunity. So with that, we'll close. Thank you.
Thank you.